Hey everyone, today we'll try to understand the basics of Workfront Marketo integration. Okay, so what we'll be doing is we'll be creating an email in Marketo using Workfront. So basically, we'll be entering the email details in Workfront, let's say in a custom form, and when we submit the custom form, the data should be passed to Marketo and an email should be created in Marketo automatically. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. All right, so let's get started. So let's first try to understand the basics of Marketo user interface. So I have logged into my Marketo instance and then I clicked on marketing activities and then I searched for test weapon 9. Okay, and here you can see this is the parent campaign folder. Under the parent campaign folder, we have a test program created. Think of program as a folder where you store all your assets. Okay, so a program can contain your email asset, it can contain your landing pages and so on and so forth. Okay, um, in this case it has only one email asset, and let's try to open that. So let's click on this, and if you click on edit draft, it will come to this particular page. Okay, so here you can see that it is an email. Let's consider this as a newsletter. If you think about a newsletter, the structure of the newsletter is always going to be the same. Only some parts of the newsletter might change, the data might change, right? So here we are going to change this part of the email. Okay, all the other parts are going to be the same. For the purpose of this demo, we are going to change only this part of the email, and this is what we'll be pushing from Workfront. Okay, the data from Workfront will be pushed to this particular part of the email. So we have actually added a placeholder. We call it tokens in Marketo. So tokens are nothing but placeholder, or let's say variables. Think about tokens as variables or placeholders. Okay, so basically this is where we'll be mapping the data from Workfront. Okay, so here we have variabilized this particular part. We have also variabilized the subject of the email. So here we can see that we have already added a token called my.subject. Okay, so basically we can also change this particular field via Workfront. Okay, so we already have this template defined in Marketo. Our intention is basically to update this particular template so that we create a new email, right? So that's exactly what we are going to do. So I have already created a custom form here called POC Marketo Integration. Okay, and it has three fields basically: subject, body, create email. Okay, so as I mentioned, we'll be changing the subject of the email, we'll be changing the body of the email. Okay, and when will that happen? When we click on create email equal to yes. Okay, so whenever we select yes as create email, the data should be pushed to Marketo, and then the email should be created in Marketo automatically, right? So that is the whole idea. Okay, so let's go through our design. Okay, the first step is custom form is submitted. You fill in the data and then you submit the custom form, right? After that, we capture the event in Fusion. Okay, we set some global variables, and then the next step is basically to get the folder ID of the program template. If you see this, you see this particular folder, right? Test campaign folder. So we need the ID of this folder. Why? Because we are going to create the new email. We are going to create a new email under this particular folder. Okay, that's why we need the folder ID of the parent campaign folder. Okay, now next step is basically to clone the program under the folder ID. Okay, so what do you mean by clone program? Is nothing but copying the program. Okay, so basically what we'll be doing is we'll be copying this program under the same folder. Okay, under this folder we'll be copying this particular program. Okay, that's what we'll be doing. Okay, we'll be creating a duplicate copy of this particular program. Okay, that's what it does. Okay, next thing is formulate aggregator token JSON. So then we need to formulate a token JSON structure. Okay, after that we'll split the JSON. Okay, and then we'll be updating the tokens in Marketo. Okay, so now let's try to build the scenario here. So let's add the first module. So it should be watch events. So let's say Workfront, Adobe Workfront, and let's say Adobe Workfront and watch events. Okay, so let's say watch for email triggers. Okay, so let me select the right connection. Select the right connection. Now let's try to select the record type is going to be task because the custom form is in a task, right? So we'll be selecting task here, and then the state should be new state and record origin. Um, let's say, let's try to search for that. Yeah, this is the field POC create email equals to yes, and POC create email changed. Okay, whenever this particular field is changed and when the POC create email equal to yes, that's what I want to that's when I want to capture this event. Okay, so I'll just uncheck this because I'm using my personal connection, so I don't want to exclude updates made by this connection. Okay, and record origin should be updated records only. I think this should do the trick. So let's try to save this. Let's click on okay there, save it. Let's try to run it. Now let's try to trigger the email. Let's try that here. Let's make it to yes, no, and let's change it to yes. Okay, click on yes, and then this particular scenario should be triggered. Yeah, it's coming up here. Perfect. Now what is the next step? Get the folder ID of the program template. Okay, so we created this program template, right? So we need to get the folder ID of this particular program. So it is should be the folder ID of this parent campaign folder. Okay, so let's try to fetch that first. So how do you do that? So let's say search for Marketo module, Marketo. Okay, and let's say read a record, and we can search for program. Uh, and then we want to pull out the folder ID, right? Folder. Okay, so let's search for let's check this option. And what is the program ID? So how do we get the program ID? So you need to go to the Marketo program. So let's go to the Marketo program and let's try to get the ID of the program. So if you go to the URL, you'll get the ID from the URL. It's the 4-digit number from the URL. So let's copy it and let's paste it here. Okay, so this is my program ID. Actually, let's add a global variable here. So let's add tools, set multiple variables. We can just say where existing program ID equal to this, right? Equal to this 2890. Okay, so this is okay. Let's say let's name it properly. Let's say global variables. Okay, so now let's try to read this particular. Let's try to run this first. Right click, run this module. Let's see whether we are getting the output or not, and then we'll replace the mapping. So here we are. So we got the folder ID here, and this is the folder name. This is exactly what we need, right? So now let's try to correct the mapping. So let's use the global variables here where existing program ID. Okay, so that should be good here. And then let's see the next step. So we need to clone the program under the folder ID, right? So that's the next step. So let's do that. So let's add another Marketer module and let's say clone a program. Okay, we need the existing program ID here. So this is the existing program ID. New program name can be test weapon program. Let's say 15. Folder ID is here. We got it in the previous module, so let's map it here. Okay, this is my folder ID, so everything is good, perfect. So let's say we can just name it like um, copy program, copy program, right? That's perfect. Let's go to the next step. Formulate the aggregator token JSON. Okay, that's the next step. Let's try to get the aggregator JSON. This is the aggregator JSON. Okay, the JSON structure. So let's try to copy it here. So let's add a module called parse JSON. Okay, we need to parse this JSON basically. Just copy this. Okay, and let's format it. And we need to add our data structure. Let's say tokens, uh, tokens aggregated JSON, right? Let's click on generator and let's copy that. Let's save it and the data structure is created here. Okay, so basically this is the aggregated JSON data structure. Okay, so we need to form this JSON data structure and then we need to split this array. So basically this is an array. Okay, this is the first item of the array, which contains folder type, name, type, value. Okay, and then this is the second item. Okay, so this first item should have the placeholder for subject. The second one should, sorry, this is the placeholder for body. Okay, so this is a token called body and this is the token called subject. Okay, so we need to formulate this particular aggregated JSON data structure and then we'll be splitting it in the next step. Okay, so how do you get the body of the email? From the body of the custom form, right? So let's try to get that from the body of the custom form. So the body, if you see this, right, the custom form has a body field, so this should be mapped there. So let's try to map that. So click here and we should have something called POC body. Yeah, so we are going to map this to the body and subject should be mapped to subject. So again, let's try to, okay, I'm not getting that. So let's open it again here and let's map subject. So POC subject to subject, right? So here we are, we have POC subjects and that is mapped to subject. Okay, so basically whatever we got from Workfront, we are mapping it to the JSON. Okay, and this is exactly what we are going to push to Marketo. So these are nothing but tokens. Body is the first token, and subject is the second token, right, in Marketo, right? And then we are going to update um, the tokens in Marketo. That in turn will um, change the data in the email. Next step is to split the JSON. So let's try to split the JSON here. So how do you split the JSON? Using an iterator. So iterator, flow control, iterator, and let's split the array. So this is the array. So just split the array. Okay. Now the next step is basically to update the tokens. Okay, in order to update the tokens you need to call a Marketo API. So the Marketo API documentation is here in this particular link and you can go through this documentation. I'll paste the URL in the description field and you can go through this particular documentation. So I got this particular API to call, so let me just copy this particular URL. Okay, and let's paste it in our custom API call. So let's add a module called Marketo custom API call, and let's try to copy paste the URL here. So we need to provide the ID of the program here. So what is the program ID? This should be the newly created program ID. So okay, so let's say it should be newly created program ID should be here in under the copy program, right? So this is a newly created program ID. The token should be updated under the newly created program. Okay, so that's what we need to do here. Now this is done. Now let's understand the API documentation. So basically it says that we need to provide the query parameters. So let's say it should be post, right? This one, yeah. So we need to provide these particular key value pairs. So the first key value is folder type. So let's add that. Let's copy this and let's paste it here under the fields, not queries. It should be under the fields. Okay, key here, and value should be this folder type. Okay, next one it should be name. Okay, and let's add another item called name. Let's map it from name. Okay, and let's add another item called, what's the next item here? It should be type. Okay, and type to type, right? So we already have type here, so we can map it from here. And let's click on add here. Let's add another item. And what is the next item? It should be value. Okay, and this is nothing but the value of the token, right? So that's what it says here. So let's try to do that. Value is the value of the token, and that will come from here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so basically we formulated the URL and we provided the key value pairs under fields. Okay, folder type is coming from folder type, name is name, type is type, value is value. Okay, so this is exactly why we split the array, because we wanted it to be mapped in this particular format, right? In the key value pair formats. That's why we split the array here. Okay, I hope you got it. Let's click on OK here. Let's try to save it. Think we should be good here, and let's try to save it, and let's try to re-trigger the email once again. Okay, let's do that. Run once, and let's go to our test stars. Let's say no, and let's say yes. Okay, then the email should be triggered, right? The email should be created automatically in Marketo. So let's go and check the scenario here. Here we go. Everything is run successfully. So we updated 2 tokens here. So let's see what happened here. Yeah, it's 200. It's success. Okay, success false. Okay, warnings. Errors. What is the error? Folder not found. Okay, so it says folder not found. Okay, so it is not successful actually. So we need to do a post. Okay, we need to do a post here. So that's a mistake. So if you see the API documentation, it says post, right? So we need to do a post there. Apologies. So let's try to run again. So let's save it. Let's try to run it. And let's try to do another test. So let's say no first. And let's say create email equal to yes. And that should trigger the integration. Let's see now. Yeah. Okay, now we don't have this particular stuff here. Copy program with the same name exist. Yeah, so we have to tweak the name now. Should be 16 because in the previous run 15 was created. So let's say 16. Let's try to run again, and let's try to say no here, and let's try to say yes here. That should trigger the integration, and let's see what happens here. Copy program successful, and we got two success messages. So let's see this body success equal to true, so there's no error here. And what about the next one, operation 2? If you see there's output body success equal to true, yeah, so that means everything is fine. So what would we send from Workfront? So let's try to review what we sent from Workfront first. So we send subject test subject weapon and body test body weapon. Okay, so we should see an email with subject equal to test subject weapon and body is equal to test body weapon in Marketo. Okay, so let's try to check that in Marketo. So let's go to Marketo. So here we go. This is the program that got created, and under that we have an asset. And let's try to open the asset. Let's click on preview draft. So this is the screenshot of the email that got created. As you can see, the subject is actually added as test subject weapon, right? And then we have the body also added as um, test body weapon. Okay, so yeah. So the email is created with the right subject and the right body. This is how you create emails in Marketo via Workfront. I hope this was useful. Have a great day.